Hello to our viewers and welcome back to Initiate Youth Talks. My name is Chinska. I am an energy policy consultant and the host of this series in which I have already talked to many inspiring young professionals from Eastern Europe about the energy transition in the region. But this time, after a short summer break, I wanted to twist the agenda a little bit and give a glimpse into other interesting European countries too, to know what has worked there, to know what didn't go so well, and what we can learn from others as we embark on this journey to decarbonize our energy systems here in Eastern Europe. So today I'm very glad to have Josu Echevarria here from Spain.
Hello.
Hi, Josu. Thank you very much for joining us today. We know each other via our East Meets West network from the Netherlands, where you studied at the Technical University at Delft, and then also worked for Tesla and then Siemens. Nowadays, you're back in Spain, in the Basque Country, and you're working on some very interesting community energy projects. Please, first of all, tell us a little bit about your career, about your motivations to work in the energy sector, and how you got here.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for the invite, Shinska. I'm glad to be here today. Yeah, I've been following your previous episodes and I really like them. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Well, coming back to your question, how did I get here? So basically, as probably many other teenagers just after school, didn't have big clarity on what I wanted to study. But well, I knew I was really interested in preserving nature, environment, and that field. And well, luckily enough, there was a new degree coming up next to my parents' place in energy engineering, and well, decided to enroll. And well, still here, I can say I'm really glad I made that decision. So yeah, it was a really interesting degree where I could also got to intern in some interesting mobility sector companies in the Basque Country, like Corona and CAF Power. And once I was done with that degree, I wanted to dive into the renewables sector a bit better. And well, I chose for the TU Delft, as you know, and I studied there the Masters in Sustainable Energy Technology, which was also a big success. I'm really glad I chose for this one. And well, in this period of time in the Netherlands, I also got to work in Tesla, as you've mentioned. It was really a really exciting period there in the EV charging department, expanding the infrastructure in Europe. And then later on, I worked as a project engineer in Siemens, as you've also mentioned, in the data center department. So we were basically also developing those data centers that are also very energy consuming sector. But well, in a nutshell, my period in the Netherlands was really enriching. Learned a lot about the energy sector, energy policies, but also a lot about entrepreneurship and met people from all around the place. So also how to work and cooperate with people from different cultures. And well, it was a very enriching period. But well, last year, it's already a year, I think. Got a call from Spain while I was working at Siemens. Call from a really exciting project that was focused on indeed building and promoting those solar energy communities. And well, till now, it's been a really fun year so far. A lot of work, but yeah, we are already seeing some results, and we are seeing the impact there. So we're starting to build those solar energy communities and seeing the success of it. So really excited to continue working here and see the impact of this transition and bringing the green energy to everyone. And well, and obviously in an affordable way. That's the objective of this project. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting, and I can't wait for you to tell us a little bit more. So decentralized energy, it's one of the most interesting solutions nowadays when you think about resilient and also sustainable energy supply. So can you introduce us shortly to the topic of energy communities and the benefits of distributed energy? And I also wonder about the question of ownership and if that is a challenge for small communities, for example.
Well, I think it might be interesting to start by shortly introducing how the energy sector used to work and well still works, but is in a centralized manner. So Back in the day and still now, we have very big power plants in the suburbs of cities, or well, even in the countryside, nuclear or coal power plants, for instance, that basically are bringing the electricity, or the energy from this big power plants in one direction to the cities where usually this loads are consumed. So yeah, we're seeing that you need indeed a costly infrastructure, and well, now what we're seeing with the newer sources of energy, as the renewable energy sources, PV and wind, we're seeing smaller installations, usually closer to the consumption point. So this is what you call decentralized, right? So there are different smaller generation points, let's say, usually closer to consumption. So it's a more efficient way because you don't have as many losses on the way to bring that energy to where it's going to be consumed, right? So that's a bit the message, and I think what we're seeing more and more. And now, well, at least with our projects, we're focusing mainly on rooftop PV. So it's installing PV panels on rooftops of houses. But with this local energy communities we're promoting at the moment, we're focusing on rooftops that are a bit bigger than what you could have on your house. We're making deals with municipalities and also a bit the private sector with schools, for instance. So we get rooftops of sports centers and, well, a bit bigger rooftops than what you could have in your house, as I mentioned. And then with this, and there's now a policy in Spain that allows you to share the electricity generation from this PV plant within a radius of 500 meters. So all the citizens that live within that range can join in to this local energy community. So in a country like Spain, where over 65% of the people live in flats and don't own a roof, it's a really interesting solution because you're able to bring them this green electricity, or this access to green electricity in an easy way. And the other point you were mentioning, the biggest hurdle or challenge we're seeing indeed is that if you want to install PV in your house, you probably need a few €1,000 to that upfront investment. However, with this format, we're also making deals with this other financing institutions that will that help us out to bring this in as no investment for the participants in this community. So they just pay like around 100, €150 to enter, and then they have a monthly fee, but they are able to start saving up since month one. So it's quite interesting. But indeed, it's the biggest challenge, I think, that upfront investment.
Yeah, I really like how good policies combined with inclusive private finance can then help these communities to participate in the schemes. Well, as we know, the EU is embarking on a mission to create this pan-European integrated energy system that can efficiently distribute also intermittent sources of energy and electricity, mostly from solar and wind. And there's talk about southern countries like Spain and Portugal being able to supply cheap solar-based electricity all over the continent. Do you think your country could be a kind of like a powerhouse to Europe, and what would be the implications?
Well, that's a very interesting topic. Well, I think it's known that Spain and Portugal are really sunny countries, but other than sunny, they're also windy and have big hydro potential. So in a nutshell, yeah, they have great renewable energy potential. Actually, we're even seeing that that in southern Spain, well, the last couple of years, we already got the two biggest PV farms in Europe. So it's happening. What you're mentioning, it's going on. But in order to become the powerhouse of Europe, we'll need a better interconnection with Europe. So at the moment, the interconnection capacity with the rest of Europe, in this case with France mainly, it's the only interconnection we have. It's very low. It's very low. We only have 2.8 gigawatts of interconnection capacity, and well, the EU regulation sets it as should be at least 10% of your installed capacity, and that would mean Spain would need up to around 11 gigawatts of interconnection. So it's still on the really lower side. So I think this is the biggest challenge or bottleneck at the moment. But we're seeing that this is getting better. There are projects coming in. This will increase, but this interconnection would not only be for this being the powerhouse, but being interconnected with Europe, for instance, would be advantages. Well, we saw a recent example with the energy prices in Spain being really expensive. However, in France, as they have more nuclear power, they managed to get rid of the gas in their energy mix. So they had quite cheap electricity at that moment. So we're importing that electricity at full capacity of our lines. And still, as we have no enough capacity to change the prices in Spain at some point. So we'll see that coming, I think, but definitely could play a role. And I see many new projects coming in Spain and Portugal.
Very interesting. I think this also, perfectly shows how it's very important, even more important, to invest in grids and infrastructure than just to supply and generation, I think.
Exactly.
So yes, as a country, Spain, that is already, as you also told us, embracing the benefits of renewable energy and harnessing renewable energy. What lessons could we maybe learn from Spain in Eastern Europe, if there's any?
The first one that I'd like to mention is, well, back in the day in 2008, well, in the period of 2008 to 2012, I think. Well, we had a renewable energy boom in Spain. It's probably known by many. Well, due to a too good to be true feed-in tariff scheme. Well, back then, renewable energy technologies were not as developed as, and especially as cheap as today. So, well, Spain, the Spanish government provided really high feed-in tariffs that were at the time about 6 to 7 times higher than the market price. So, well, we're still paying for that debt nowadays. So well, I'd say, well, nowadays it's different, obviously, because now you can find, well, in Spain at least, most of the projects are subsidy free at the moment for renewable energy already. So this will happen also in most of the regions in Europe as well. So well, that's probably not going to happen again, but in any case, it's a nice learning from what happened in Spain. On the other hand, I think that something that has worked pretty well recently is the renewable energy auction we had in Spain beginning of this year. We had a 3 gigawatt auction, and worked pretty well because we used a pay as you bid scheme, which basically provides a 12-year offtake agreement, which means that these generators will receive a fixed energy price for their energy generation for those 12 years. So giving them a lot of certainty in their investment. And what we saw is that we got really cheap energy prices, ranging 15 to 30 euros megawatt hour, which is definitely lower than what we're getting nowadays with 120 euros megawatt hour in the past days. So I think it worked pretty well. And with this scheme, you also ensure that you're getting new renewable energy capacity every time you bring up an auction. So I think it's definitely advisable, or at least in Spain, it worked pretty well this time. So
yeah, I think already, EU guidelines also recommend to use auctions for optimal prices and efficiency. Very interesting. Thanks a lot. Now I have one more bonus question for you. I pose this question to everyone. I wonder if you have a favorite tool, let that be a technology or like a policy instrument in the energy transition that you prefer, that you like, and that you maybe think is working best in Spain, for example.
This is a tough question, but well, if I had to go for one, let's say policy. Well, the one I just mentioned, auctions, are working pretty well. So say those are advisable, and I really like them. But well, I'm gonna incline for the policy that's now enabling us to bring up these projects. That's basically a bit following the guidelines of Europe to enable these cities and energy communities, those local energy communities. But in Spain now, luckily enough, you're able to share the electricity generated in your rooftop within 500 meters. So the people that don't have access to rooftop are able to join in and basically just be as if they had PV panels in their rooftop. So it's really enabling it this way, and I think that's my favorite one at the moment. Is it's enabling us to bring up so many interesting and impactful projects. So yeah, if I have to choose one, I'll say that one.
Thank you. Lovely. Very interesting. And I really hope to, yeah, there's a lot of lessons to, and I really hope to see these solutions also in Eastern Europe and move a little bit towards decentralized energy and distributed energy sources as well. Thanks a lot, Josu, for being here and for sharing all your knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Shinska. No, my
Thank you.
pleasure.